may be asking yourself why the happy music and what is happening in this sequence in the short video I just showed you at the very beginning. A warm welcome to Thursday the 1st of December 2022, and I do have some good news in one part of China. Let's hope it spreads. We do need a little bit of a backstory before we get into the good news. You may or may not know what's happened in China over the last 5 or 6 days. I did do a little report of it, I do believe yesterday, related to what happened Thursday last week, where a fire broke out in a city in Xinjiang, the northwest of China, and unfortunately some people lost their lives, and lost their lives not because of the actual fire, because the actual doors were bolted according to some eyewitness reports, and they couldn't get out. Wasn't bolted by themselves, it was bolted by the COVID police, so to speak, and the fire engines couldn't get to the blaze. Again, I've showed you this kind of video before, basically because the cars were parked in a way that the fire engine couldn't get through the crowd, they couldn't get through the illegally parked cars, and had to wait for permission, and the jets of water from the fire engines didn't reach far enough to get to the apartment building. I think you know the story. And this sparked a lot of protests, unprecedented protests that hadn't been seen in China for a long time. Now, a lot of the Western Chinese shills, the people who work for the CCP, were promoting protests are normal in China, the same as anywhere else. How come we are not seeing protests in other countries? Because it's unprecedented, because this hit many different cities. Let me show you what it was like in a couple of cities like Beijing and Shanghai and Wuhan over the last couple of days. The People's Republic of China became actually the People's Republic of China. The people spoke out. Because for the last 3 years, the on and off lockdowns in China, where the rest of the world, you could say, is near enough gone back to normal. A high percentage of the world has been vaccinated. You would ask the actual question, what percentage of Chinese people have been vaccinated, etc. But that's another story. But in Guangzhou, it was reported that the lockdown has been lifted today. Hence, this is why I did have the cheerful music at the very beginning of this. Now, a report literally like 5 minutes before I started to record this show on CNBC also confirmed this today, that in Guangzhou, which is really near Hong Kong if you want the geographical location, lifted its lockdown. I'm not too sure whether it's the whole city or just part of the city. Now, before we get into the news report, if this happens in Guangzhou, I can see what's sort of happening here, that the Chinese government is basically saying, well, give them a little bit and that will do. But then other cities will want the same. Shanghai, Beijing, Wuhan, Xi'an, Chongqing, etc., etc. So hopefully we can hope and we can pray that this lockdown and the zero COVID policy in China is sort of going to just disappear, be swept under the carpet, and within a couple of months, well, maybe it'll be happier for the people, basically so the people won't protest. Give them a little bit, they will be happy. This is a thing which the Chinese government does a lot of the time. Give them a little bit and then they will be happy, they'll be contented with their lives again. It's happened many, many times before. You could say it even happened way back in 1989, etc., but that one. But here is the news report that I want to show you.
Welcome back to Squawk Box. Protesters in China once again clashing with authorities there. Eunice Yoon joins us now with more. Eunice, hello.
Hey, Joe. Well, the export hub Guangzhou has announced today that it's lifting most of its lockdowns, and this is after videos emerged.
And we can go on the ground in Guangzhou, and you can see what it's like driving around the city, where these water-filled barriers are slowly being removed, and slowly, you could say, life is being returned. I don't know what's going to be related to the constant testing that people have to do. I don't know what's going to have with the mandatory mask wearing that you could say most of the people in China would have to do. This, you could say in a positive sense, is a victory for the protests. I'm sure that the government didn't want it to go any further, they didn't want it to get any bigger, they didn't want Xi Jinping to stand down, and they're going to manipulate this as Xi Jinping is the emperor, he's kind to everyone, etc., etc. that, and then it will all sort of fade away. This guy in Guangzhou, which I'm going to show you in a moment or two, is on, I'm not too sure, possibly an electric bike, and you can see again the water-filled road barriers are being removed by the police and the authorities. We do hope that this continues into other cities and the lockdown in China just fades away and China can once again join the international community of business. They can get their economy back up and running. Not necessarily for the Chinese government, but I'm saying the Chinese people who deserve this after 3 years of this horrible COVID situation. I would say most of us have been in some kind of lockdown. Most of us would have some kind of injection. Most of us have been through the mask wearing. It's out the way. In this country, since May, you didn't have to wear a mask, and I think in October this year, related to travel, you didn't have to have any COVID vaccination, which most people actually in this country have had. Let me know your points of view and do leave a comment in the comment section below. Do, if you liked the channel, to subscribe if you found it interesting, and like and give it a thumbs up. And this is also on Twitter, this is also on my Facebook, this is also going to be on Tumblr, and it's also going to be on LinkedIn as well. That's where you can find me, and some other websites like Telegram as well. Thank you so much for your time. My name is James. A good day. For a start, we hope, of the lift of the total disappearance of the lockdown in China. We hope and pray. Thank you for your time.